Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar about circular economy and circular design within the packaging industry. We are happy that you take the time to listen in to this very important topic today. And I'm Ann-Sofie Gunnarsson, I'm Chief Sustainability Officer at Boxon Group, and I have my colleague with me.
Hi, I'm Jonas Lindgren. I work as a packaging engineer here at Boxon.
And Jonas, you are working with design every day, more or less, and your team. So why do you think it's important with circularity and thinking circularity when you are designing?
To me, circularity is about householding with nature's resources. And also, since we are not a producing company, we always work hard on minimizing the material to be more competitive on the market as well.
Exactly. So circularity is an input from the beginning, and you're thinking how we can sort of take care of our resources and in that way also optimize the costs.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's sort of the topic we will discuss today. But first we will start with a few insights about what is circularity about. And this picture is taken from Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and it shows actually how it looks like today from different types of resources that we are utilizing and how it would look like in 2050. And the way we design products actually impacts the way the products can be used and to be reused and how the material can be used. And that's why it's so important to think of circularity already from the beginning. And today we are in a linear system. Even if we are into the transition to a circular system, we still are very much in a linear system where we are taking the product, we are utilizing the product, and we are leaving them for waste, and it might be burned or it might be go to the landfill. And of course, our ambition is that it should be into the system, but that's not always the case. And today, the production of food and of goods actually contribute to 45% of the global greenhouse gases emissions. And as you see here, plastics is something we use very much in our everyday life. And 50% of all plastics that we use are single-used. And by 2050, the share of annual carbon budget, plastic will stand for 15%. And it's not only about the carbon budget, it's also that it will be more plastics than fish in the ocean by 2050 if we continue like this. If we look to the other part here, fashion and textiles, we have never produced more clothes than we do today, but we don't reutilizing the clothes. 60% of the clothes are burnt or goes to the landfill within years of being made. And we all know how much longer we can use the clothes and how seldom we actually use textiles or clothes until we can't use it anymore because it's simply, we simply have used it too much. And by 2050, fashion and textile will stand for 26% of the share of annual carbon budget. And it's not only about here, about the CO2. It's also that is estimated to will be 22 million tons of plastic microfibers entering the ocean between 2015 and 2050. So it's already ongoing. If we look at food and agriculture, that's actually the largest part. I think no one has missed that around 30% of all eatable food is thrown away or is wasted. And by 2050, the share of annual carbon budget, if we continue like this, will be 77% connected to food and agriculture. And it's not only that we throw away food that is possible to eat, it's also that we're utilizing energy and resources and labors, etc., to producing this that we're just throwing away. So that's also another dimension of waste. So how is this connected to Boxon? Why are we interested in circular economy and circular design? We are working in a business where we are utilizing quite a lot of material every day, and you as customers are utilizing that as well for your packaging solutions. So it's very important for us to think of how can we ensure that material goes back into the system, and how can we design in the most optimized way from different perspectives. And we rethink packaging every day, both how the packaging can protect your product in the absolute best way, but also how can we do that in the most sustainable way as possible. And we have the ambition to be the most innovative and sustainable packaging company. And we actually believe that we have a very good foundation for this. We have been established on the market since 1932, or more than 90 years ago, and we have an expertise and knowledge around this area. We are a company with offices in and warehouses in 7 different countries around Europe and in Asia. And we are more than 300 employees that can help you as a customer with your packaging solution. So that means that we are a good partner both for our local customers but also international customers when it comes to packaging, customized solutions or standard solutions, and also to find the most sustainable alternatives. We also have a very ambitious sustainability agenda. We have committed to science-based targets last year in 2022 and to reach net zero emissions of greenhouse gases by 2040. And we have set goals for how much we should reduce our greenhouse gases and our climate impact in 2030, but also until 2025. And the advantage of setting and committing to the science-based targets agenda is that this is a common method now utilized by many different companies and many of our customers. And that means that we all are utilizing the same method, we are measuring in the same way, and we are setting the goals in the same way. And in that way, we can start to have a dialogue and to discuss and to share how have you done to decrease your CO2. We also have an ambition to increase the share of recycled material in our packaging solutions. And we have a target to 2025 to increase by 30% from 2022 year's baseline. And we also will continue to introduce new packaging solutions with a climate neutral footprint, where we have several examples already today, and we will continue to develop that agenda. I would also like to mention that we are very happy that we in 2022 got the EcoVadis sustainability rating gold. We got the gold medal in 2023, but we were evaluated on our work we did during 2022. So when we are defining our sustainability agenda and what we should focus on, we of course look at our stakeholders around our value chain, what is important for our stakeholders, customers, employees, suppliers, and the consumers in the world around us. But we also look into the areas where we can have an impact and where we really can influence. And these are a few areas that we have identified and that we are working with, and that we are working for our long-term agenda for 2030. And people are demanding change, especially the young generation that are growing up now and that actually have grown up sort of in the shadow of climate impact, and a lot of discussion that if we will manage the 1.50 target. And also another area that we are looking into a lot is that how can we ensure that we are sourcing from responsible forestry, which also enables biodiversity. And this is a very important topic for us because we have the majority of our range is made by fiber-based packaging materials. As I mentioned, the climate net zero agenda is very important for us and very much high on the agenda. And we have signed up for this climate science-based target for the climate agenda. And then we will continue to discuss in this seminar about how we can actually reuse, upcycling packaging solutions, how we can ensure that the packaging goes into the value chain that becomes recycled, and that we from the beginning are utilize material that is possible to recycle. And of course, how can we establish systems for circularity, because it will demand new business models. So, what is circular economy about? Circular economy is about that the products and materials should be kept in the loop and kept at their highest utility and value at all times, and circulate them between customers. And you see here in the middle the trash bin. It's a very simple model, and I like this model because I like simplicity. But I think it explains what circularity is about, that you should try to keep the material and the product in the loop as long as possible and minimize the leakage. If you look at the little bit more extensive model, it also comes from Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And that means that we can think of circular economy and circularity like in different loops. And if we start from the middle in the user, we should aim for keeping the products, and it's not connected to packaging only here. It can be anything, clothes, furniture, cars, whatever. We should try to keep it in the inner loop as long as possible, to reutilize it, to share it with others. Can I, for example, co-sharing perhaps a car or tools that I don't use so much, perhaps I don't need to buy it for myself. When that's not possible, we can look into if we can repair the clothes, the products that we have, and therefore prolong their lifetime, and go back to the service provider who can actually repair perhaps your computer or your car, or whatever it is. When that's not possible, we can think in the third loop, that how can we redistribute and reuse the products. And that can be that we are selling it, or we are giving it away to other customers or to our families. And it can also be that we are remanufacturing, that it actually goes back to the manufacturing again. For example, a bed that goes back to manufacturing with new textiles, etc., and then it's as new as again. So that's another loop. And when that's not possible, we can utilize it for the recycling, ensuring that it's recycled and goes back into the system and becomes new products again. And of course, this loop looks a bit different depending on what type of product it is. The more high value, like a car, for example, you can keep it in the loop for the longer time. But for example, for packaging, we are of course utilizing a lot of the recycling loop. But the most important is that it goes back to the system. And to the left, you actually see a faded away loop, and that's about how we can, the products that are biodegradable and organic, like food, for example, how can we ensure that that goes back into the system? But that's another type of circular system than for products. So I will not go into that, but if you're interested, you can look into Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and we will provide you with the address, which you have there as well on the slide. So what about circular packaging? How can we think in circular packaging? The challenge with packaging is that packaging is almost uniformly single-use, and if we think in a global context, it has a low recycling rate and a high leakage rate. even if we are good in recycling paper, for example, in Sweden. And we are quite good or the Netherlands are quite good, as one example, to recycling plastic packaging. And this picture is in Swedish, but I think you can understand it anyway. But you see here that papp, or kartong, like paper and cardboard paper, we have a very high recycling rate of that in Sweden. 84% of all packaging, paper packaging, goes back into the system. So that's very good. And when it comes to plastic, it's much less. It's around 34% that goes back into the system. And that's including the PET bottles, where you actually get money to bring them back into the system. So if we would decrease the PET bottle, it decreases a lot. So it's a high leakage when it comes to plastics. And I also think that we might think that in Sweden that we are very good in recycling everything, but I think this actually shows that there are other countries when it comes to plastic that is much better than in Sweden to recycling plastic. The Netherlands are in 57%, so they are in the top of within EU to recycling plastics. And then we have Slovakia, Lithuania, Spain, Bulgaria, etc., that are also on a high level, while we in the Nordic, like Denmark and Sweden, are actually around 30% and less than medium in this case. Also, when it comes to plastic, even if you recycling it, it's a very low percentage that actually is utilized for new plastic packaging. It's around, I believe, 87% actually goes back to that becomes burnable or goes back to the landfill. So a high leakage of plastic overall. So here we have a big opportunity to increase. So how can we ensure that packaging doesn't become waste and that it goes back into and becomes part of circular solutions? We are utilizing a model that is called Zero Waste and the 5 R's, and there are many different versions of the 5 R's, but this is the one that we are utilizing. And I will go through it, but it's about refusing, do we need it, reducing the amount of packaging that we use, reusing it, recycling it, and then ROT is about organic, that biodegradable, can it go back into the system that way. So at Boxon, the first question we are asking ourselves, do we need packaging? And I think overall within the packaging industry, this question can be asked. For example, for product packaging, is this product packaging needed, or can we put it in the transport packaging solution directly? When it comes to reuse, it's about having the right weight and having the right size and the right quality. It should not be over quality, but not under quality either. It should be the right quality. And this Jonas will talk a little bit more about in his presentation. Another area is that can we reuse packaging? And this is a topic that we discuss a lot because we are quite early in this journey, I would say, overall within packaging. But reutilizing packaging could be that we don't have a logotype on it, so it's possible for our customers to reutilize it, or that it's we have solutions, for example, in plastics that could be reusable. But if we should have packaging that is possible to reuse, we need to think that it's possible in systems where that is uniform, where we can have one size and where it's sort of fixed transportation solutions. But what I think it might be even more interesting is that how can we ensure that we reutilizing the material in closed loops? And we have a very good example with Boxon Tech. It's a company within the Boxon group that is doing exactly this for the automotive industry, where we have frame trays. It's packaging solutions for parts for automotive industry that needs to be put in an extremely clean environment, and also that is adapted for the industries. And what we do here is that we have plastic frames, and these plastic frames, when the products are delivered, the plastic frames goes back to different recycling hubs that we have around the world, and it's gathered there and collected there, and then it goes back into production again. So 100% recycled and reused material flows through these solutions. And here I think is potential to look into more type of packagings to have these type of loops where we reuse the material and with 0% leakage. Recycle is, of course, the area where we are working a lot, and that's why it's so important that we ensure that our products and the material is possible to recycle, but also that we ensure and our customers ensure that we recycle it right, that we put the right material in the right fractions. Biodegradable packaging, we are not utilizing and working so much with that within Boxon, but we are monitoring it very carefully because we think it's very interesting. But today, the infrastructure is not especially developed for biodegradable packaging. And if, for example, this plastic cup goes into and becomes recycled along with recycled plastics, then this plastic cup will actually destroy that batch of recycled plastic. So it's very important to put biodegradable packaging in the right fractions. So going forward, we will discuss these areas, how we reduce material and reduce size to ensure the best solution and circularity. How we can reuse is a topic that we will come back to. We are in a journey, and we have our Box on Tech as a very good example, and how we ensure that our products and the material is possible to recycle. The next big thing in design is circular. In all type of businesses and industries, we need to start from the design. By starting with the design, we can eliminate waste. We can reduce the CO2 because if we find products that are reusable and recyclable, we reduce the amount of energy used in the system. And we find circular product solutions and materials that can go into the circular system and without leakage. And now we will go into the next topic, design for circularity at Boxon. And I have my colleague Jonas with me. And we will design circularity at Boxon in practice. How do we do at Boxon?
Yeah, it's really interesting what you say, because even if we cannot reuse the box in itself, we are actually helping environmental by there are a lot of companies selling used clothes, and of course they can use our packaging shipping these clothes from one person to another, and then the packaging should not add more CO2 to the environment than the savings we have from reusing other people's clothes, for example. So first of all, I love this material. Corrugated paper is my favorite material. We recycle 80% of it. So we always add a little bit of extra virgin material. We have always access to this material, and it will never be weak because we always add some extra new material when we recycle. So circular design in practice. First of all, what kind of packaging is the worst kind of packaging? What is the worst kind of packaging for sustainability? It's the packaging that failed to protect the content, of course. And there are many ways of reducing material in packaging, but you should never jeopardize product safety. That is the main task we have. So we focus a lot on the material. In production, you produce corrugated rolls in several meters length, and we always make sure that we utilize as much as possible of the role, because otherwise the waste paper goes directly back to recycling, and that seems so unnecessary to produce just to recycle directly. And of course, in the long run, it also adds cost to the packaging, because you still have to pay for this material even if you don't use it. Another way to minimize the amount of material is that you can lower the flute height, the thickness of the material from 3 millimeters to 2 millimeters, and then basically you increase the pallet load with 50%, and you reduce the amount of paper used with 15%. Of course, then you get a major savings in CO2 and also in freight cost, for example, if you can have twice as many on the pallet. So when I design, I rather use thinner material, but in stronger quality, because of course, to not jeopardize the content, you have to have the same strength. It has to be able to carry the weight and handle the transport. And one thing to consider is that even we love recycled paper, but you actually need 30% more to have the same strength as virgin paper. So I have brought some boxes here with me. One of the most important thing regarding circular design is the size. Not only the size of the box, you should not oversize the box, of course, because that would mean you have to ship a lot of air or put a lot of extra material inside to protect the goods. So a perfect size of the box is number one. But when we talking design and design solution, the size is also how many do you fit on a pallet? How much waste is there of the material? I would like to show a slide here where we show clearly that here are 4 different solutions, and they have exactly the same inner dimensions. But as you can see clearly, there's a big difference between length and width, and that affects the amount of paper we need, and also how many square meters, which of course affects the weight and the cost in the long run. So sometimes we actually suggest to change dimensions slightly, because if you can remove 1 centimeter, maybe that will affect that you will have 20% more on each pallet, or double the amount on a die cut tool, and that of course is contributes a lot to both efficientness and the cost. These were 4 different solutions, and for this specific customer, they choose the last one, which is our Allen box. And what was the reason for choosing this solution? Go to the next slide, please. By choosing this, we reduced the weight, we reduced the CO2. It was 40% less material compared to what they used earlier, which means a higher pallet load, reduced freight, reduced CO2, and of course it's really easy to reuse and sell back to the customer if they want to do that, and it's even easier to recycle, because there is so little material in this product, so it can fit anywhere at home until you go recycling it. And it's quite common that we present several solutions to our customers, and to make it easy for them, we summarize the pros and the cons by different solutions. So here you can clearly see how different solution is affects the material cost, the load efficiency, the packing time, the CO2, and the material weight. These are all things that are important to our customers. Some things are more important to others, and this is why we prepare different solutions, so they can decide. They can see that, okay, if I take this more luxurious packaging, the CO2 will be affected. So what is our goal in this is development? Is it to save cost or increase efficiency? And by having different solutions, we let the customers decide. But of course, if the CO2 and reducing material is connected with saving money, it's so much easier to promote it. So to summarize, we try to minimize the material and optimize logistics using the right solution, the right material, and the right size.
I think this is so interesting, and I know you also showed me once that only by reducing here, like a couple of centimeters, you can affect
Exactly.
a lot.
Because as I explained, most people often we want to put this flap all the way around. But if I can still fit the adhesive tape, it works. And maybe by this I can get 30% more on every pallet, or I can double the amount of numbers per tool. It affects a lot, these small changes.
And I think that's a reminder, and that's also why it's so important to think of this already in the design phase. And my question is that for you, have you the past 5 years or 3-4 years seen that there's an increased interest not only for the CAST but also for the other parameters in this total solution analysis?
Yeah, of course. First of all, every kind of plastic or foam inserts are they want us to change to paper-based material almost on everyone.
And also, of course, we can say that it's so important when thinking of a solution. It might be that our customers also need filling, and the filling, we should also think that in the best possible way, keep it to the same material. So in this case, it would be good to have paper filling, or if that's not possible, at least so it's possible to remove it and take it away. And in that case, you can recycle in different fractions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jonas. And we will, of course, hear more about this and more about circular design. It's a topic high on the agenda. And the whole purpose with this seminar is to look into how can we turn challenges into opportunities? How can we turn packaging waste into circular solutions and enable that to go into new solutions, to be reusable with minimal leakage out of the system. And we are very happy that you are listening today, and we will also have more webinars coming. We will have one in September about more sustainable materials and products, a deep dive, and we believe that some of you, and hopefully many of you, are interested to learn more, where our category managers and sourcing will present more about sustainable materials. We also believe that legal regulations and environmental reporting could be interesting. There's a lot happening right now, especially within EU, regarding plastic tax, regarding plastic waste, regarding waste overall to landfill, where it will be requirements both on companies but also on municipals to enable recycling and reusable packaging. We are Oxon are also working very focused now in how we can accelerate the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030. And we believe that at the end of this year, we will be able to share our journey and our focus area. And we hope that you would like to join us in listening in and sharing about this topic. And with this, we would like to say thank you. And thank you for joining this webinar. And we hope to see you in the next webinar that will happen in September. Bye.